welcome to our special program on the Maharashtra elections. I'm Gargi Rawat. Today, the dominating issue was the rebel factor, which was faced by both camps. We'll discuss that in just a bit. Both camps have this rebel headache. Also coming up ahead, an election special from key landmarks in Mumbai and Fort, an integral part of Mumbai city. We get you a special, an exclusive report on that. But up first, the big issue that has been the big challenge for both the blocs in Maharashtra, major political parties facing rebellion in their ranks as party workers denied tickets, defied their leaderships and filed nominations for the November 20th assembly polls, posing a headache for both the ruling Mahayuti and the opposition bloc Maha Vikas Aghadi. Now today, curtains came down on the nominations withdrawal deadline. That was at 3 p.m. Today afternoon, and both camps worked very hard to placate rebels who had thrown their hat into the ring and convince them to withdraw those nominations. So there was some amount of success on both sides, and the withdrawal day drama really started in the morning when Maratha reservation activist Jarange Patil decided to back off from the elections. He had earlier declared that he would back some independent candidates. However, he made that announcement and also asked those supporting him to withdraw their candidature. The BJP also managed to placate former BJP MP Gopal Shetty to withdraw his candidature. But then in Mahim, incumbent MLA from the Shinde Shiv Sena MLA Sarvankar has just refused to withdraw his candidature, even though ally BJP had a short support to Raj Thackray, son Amit Thackeray, for that particular seat. Well, to talk more about this rebel factor and the challenge and headache that it poses to the two blocs, we're now joined by Pradeep Bhandari, national spokesperson of the BJP, and Aditi Fadnis, a senior journalist who's been tracking all these developments. First to you, Pradeep Bhandari, it's been quite a challenge, but you've had some victories also today in managing to convince some leaders to withdraw their candidature.
Just an hour back, Ravindra Dhangekar ji has given a public statement. There is an echo in my ear, if you can correct that.
Sure,
yeah.
we'll just fix that. We're just fixing that. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, just an hour back, Ravindra Dhangekar ji has given a public statement and he's spoken to multiple media channels. And we have been able to successfully placate and convince more than 90% of the rebels. That is what I can tell you. Point number two, if you look at two parallels, and I want to draw these two parallels in two pictures. Madhurima Raje Chhatrapati ji, who comes from a royal family, she withdrew the Congress candidature at the last moment. Whereas Gopal Shetty ji, who had won the Mumbai North in 2014, 2019, and right now the Bharatiya Janata Party has been able to convince him, and he's withdrawn himself from Borivali. So on one hand, an individual is withdrawing from fighting from the Congress ticket. On the other hand, an individual who has been an erstwhile member of the Bharatiya Janata Party, a very strong member of the Bharatiya Janata Party, who won the Lok Sabha also with a 70% vote share margin, we've been able to placate them. So what I can assure you is, like in Haryana, we were able to convince large number of people who initially fought as rebels, but ultimately it's the same ideological parivar fighting under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister. We believe that when you will look at the data towards late in the night, you will see that the BJP has placated at least 85% to 90%. Looking at the history of the Maharashtra elections, you are well aware that Maharashtra is a state where independents do fight. So we are aware about that limitation. However, in that limitation, we are confident that till now we've placated at least 90% of individuals who had a difference of opinion, who belong to our ideological parivar.
All right, interesting. So you say dozens of people have withdrawn their candidature. Aditi Fadnis, your comments on this, because this has been a huge headache for both sides, and this was something that was expected given the kind of groupings that we're seeing in the Mahayuti or in the MVA.
Well, to be honest, I am more surprised by the numbers that are still standing as rebels, because all manner of incentives, if I may use that word, have been used to get people to step down on both sides. It's a secular trend in that sense. there are still rebels, and it's a matter of every rebel's political future. You can't really blame him if he feels that he is being threatened and sort of being edged out in his particular area by somebody who is a newcomer. So in this kind of situation, this will happen. We have to wait and see till the end, till the final data is out, how many rebels there that are still there in the
Right, and Aditi Fadnis, in an election that is already
field.
somewhat confusing for the electorate, given the different groupings, the different senas, the different NCPs, etc. This is just adding to all of that, isn't it?
Always. And I think this is going to be, that's why the outcome of this election is going to be extremely hard to predict, because ultimately it will all come down to the wire. It will depend not just on the candidate, it will depend on the party that he's from, it will depend on how much that party is supporting him or not, as the case may be. And also, ultimately, if you spread yourself out too thin, then there is a chance that you fight all the seats, but winnability gets a go by. Sharad Pawar is the master of fighting only those battles that he knows he can win. Other parties may not have that luxury because they have to satisfy their supporters, they have to satisfy their members to be in the field. So I don't know. Let's see what happens, but it's going to be an extremely interesting election to watch.
Right, Pradeep Bhandari. However, in the Mahim seat, you've not managed the Shinde Sena leader and the former MLA or the incumbent MLA Sarvankar has refused absolutely to get out of the fight, and this is a seat that you had that the BJP had given all support and had told that Raj Thackeray that they would be supporting his son here. So that is something of an embarrassment.
No, I'll not call it as an embarrassment. As I said, that if you look at a larger picture, and if you look at the larger picture, and when you will study the larger picture tomorrow, you will come to the conclusion that we've been able to satisfy more number of independents who attempted to fight as independents, and we've been able to convince them. Just to give you a small trailer, say for example, in Court Road Assembly, we've been able to convince Amol Balwarkar. In Chinchwada, we've been able to convince. As I said, in Mr. Gopal Shetty has been convinced in Borivali. So there are multiple examples where we've convinced, and the number will stand at 90%. I'll give you a small example. See, we are talking to all individuals and under our ideological parivar, and we are talking to them, and there is a conversation which is going on. Whereas if you compare it with the Maha Vikas Aghadi, you have Mr. Sharad Pawar, Uddhav Thackeray and Sanjay Raut, who had to do a public press conference in order to appeal to the independents not to fight as independents, as actions will be taken. So if you see here there is no closed line which is there. They have to come in the media, they have to appeal, because they know majority from there are not getting convinced. That is point number one. Larger on the macro level, this is an election between stability and instability with no past parallel. Yes, on micro level, it will go on a seat by seat basis, but we are confident, like in Haryana, we were able to pull off the election with the Honorable Prime Minister's leadership, who provided us the swing vote. Similar will happen here, because the point which is very important is our social base did not reduce. Even though the seats came down, we were just 0.3% behind the Maha Vikas Aghadi in the Lok Sabha elections, and in Mumbai we were leading by 2 lakh votes. Overall, if you look at it, if you are able to convince the people, I would see a Mahayukti government coming back comfortably.
Right, Aditi Fadnis, your response on that, especially this Mahim, what we see happen, and we did an interview, in fact, with MLA Sarvankar, he said if Raj Thackeray meets me, he had all sorts of things to say, but he just absolutely refused to back down. So these sort of things are expected.
Yes, and I think we have not factored in the Jarangi Patil issue.
I was just coming to that, actually,
How
yes.
that is going to turn out, and for whom it's going to turn out to whom it's going to help, because he's the ultimate rebel, as it were. Both parties, both alliances did want him on their side. He is extremely friendly with the chief minister, not so friendly with the deputy chief minister, and he has withdrawn from the race after announcing that he would stand and his candidates would defeat would would pledge to defeat BJP candidates most. So it's a very interesting situation. Ultimately, he is the final rebel in the wood pile, and I don't know what role he is going to play. Maybe the Mahayuti is not taking him as seriously as he expects to be taken, and ultimately that could be a mistake.
All right, Pradeep Bhandari, your comments on that and the fact that Kota activist Manoj Jarange, declaring that he would not be contesting and asking those supporting him not to contest, that must have come as a huge relief, but still he remains a factor, as Aditi Fadnis says.
Well, Gargi, in a democratic election, everybody has a right to contest an election and has the right not to contest an election. So I respect that opinion and a choice that Jarange Patilji has taken, and we as a party hold that stand. On the part of Maratha reservation, I just want to enlighten your viewers with one illustration, that it was Devendra Fadnavis ji's government which provided the Maratha reservation. When Congress party was in power since 2009, they sat on Maratha reservation, they did not provide it. When Uddhav ji's government came, the Maratha reservation was taken back by the High Court and when after that Eknath Shinde ji's government came, again Maratha reservation was given. So it is our government which took the step for the first time in the history to give Maratha reservation. Neither it was Sharad Pawar ji in the 1990s, neither it was the Congress party in 2009. In fact, you go back to 1980s, you recall Annasai Patil, who was a great Maratha leader who had to shot himself on his head and committed suicide because he did not get any commitment from the government of the day on Maratha reservation. So the fact has to be appreciated that it is our government which has given Maratha reservation, and we stand completely committed to it. So we are convinced that the Marathas are also with us and are the OBCs with us.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it there. Unfortunately, our Congress spokesperson couldn't join us in time, but thank you so much both for joining us on the program. Our special focus on the Maharashtra elections and the rebel factor, as we were talking today, that was, the big issue in Maharashtra, given today was the day to withdraw the nominations, and there were several rebel candidates who had filed their nominations on both sides, for the Mahayuti as well as the opposition bloc MVA. Well, let's go across to Anuj now for more. And Anuj, both sides try to convince, these rebel candidates, these party men who had filed their nomination when they were angry over not getting the nomination. And there have been successes on both sides. One of the big, withdrawals, as we were discussing in the discussion just now, was Manoj Jarange also stepping down, and that must have come as a relief to the Mahayuti. But do we still know right now how the numbers stand? How many have withdrawn? How many rebels remain in the fray?
Well, the number is fluctuating at the moment, and I think that rather than giving out a number and it changing later, it's better to hold back our horses and let the official number come in place, and that is when an announcement can be made. But what we can say very safely is that maximum number of independent candidates who posed as rebels, to their potential colleagues turned rebels, basically, they have been convinced by the party heads on both the sides, that is Maha Vikas Aghadi and by Mahayuti, to come back into the party fold. So that's one positive for them. Secondly, it has been a difficult process ever since the 29th of October, when this entire process started, about convincing the rebels to come back, till the very end of the deadline. That is, pretty much 5 minutes before the deadline. We saw that several meetings were taking place, several press conferences were taking place, and clarity has not been reached on several places as well. We saw that from Maha Vikas Aghadi's end, the message was very clear from that press conference that action will be initiated against those who do not obey the instructions given by the party. But even after that, we've seen that there are some crucial players who've still not withdrawn. So it'll be interesting to see what does the party does in that case, because in many of these cases, a lot of these independent rebels as such have not really they've not really stood as rebels, but they were provided the AB forms, or they were provided by a ticket by the party themselves. So one can't really hold them completely accountable. It is also the party dynamics that is responsible for providing tickets to rebels when a candidate has already been named by their allies. So this becomes a little tricky situation on how much accountability do you hold against that one individual for basically doing what the party told him or her to do. But besides that, another important pointer from today was of course Manoj Jarange Patil. Last night we saw that he had stated that he'll fight as many as 25 seats, out of which a few constituencies, not people, were announced yesterday, and the rest of it were expected to be announced today. But then today he took a U-turn and said that we will go on to defeat candidates. Although he did not really specify whom will he defeat, but it becomes rather clear that it will cost Maha Yuti more than Maha Vikas Aghadi. But this entire rebel situation might seem under control at the very moment, but we'll have to wait and watch over what does the cadre of this entire rebels who've been asked to withdraw their nominations and come back to the party fold, how will it actually impact the party's voting mechanism or dynamics on the 20th of this month.
Absolutely, and we know that the rebels or these independent candidates, many say, played a role in the recent Haryana elections as well. Thanks so much, Anuj, for joining us with those details. Now, one of the seats where they weren't able to convince the rebel was the Shiv Sena candidate in Mahim, who did not withdraw his candidature against Raj Thackeray's son. Raj Thackeray had been assured by the BJP that they would give all support. However, Shiv Sena's Sada Sarvankar has said that he would not withdraw. And in fact, he spoke to us regarding that. So that is one of the seats that will remain a very interesting watch to see the contest.